Hi, my name's Randy Flem. I went on the trip. I had some kids along on the trip, which was a lot of fun. Went last year, was a blast too. And then this year, Brandon was going to share his testimony, and I was supposed to share something else. And since none of our kids had ever heard, including my own, had ever heard my testimony, I decided I was going to share mine too. And then once I wrote out my testimony, Brandon and I talked a lot about what our testimonies were. They were completely different, extremely different testimonies. And he had this vision on how we could present our testimony to include everyone, not just people who wanted to be good or wanted to be bad or whatever you want it to be. But he had this vision how we bounce back and forth and end up in the same place, knowing Jesus Christ. And so that's is Brandon's vision. So it's awesome. Ready? Okay. I was born in Oregon.
I was born in Washington.
I was raised in a non-Christian home.
I was raised in a Christian home.
I went to church on occasion.
I attended every Sunday.
I wanted to go every Sunday.
I tried to skip out as much as I could.
I would listen to my parents.
I tried to avoid my parents.
I wanted to be good.
I wanted to be bad.
My parents didn't know the Lord.
My parents were devout Christians.
I wanted to run to God, but I didn't know where he was.
You see, I knew where God was. I just tried to run away from him.
I did well in school.
I sucked in school.
I ran for student government.
I ran from cops.
I waited for marriage before I had sex.
I had a child out of wedlock.
I loved life.
I tried to commit suicide.
When I was 18, I went to college.
When I was 18, I joined the military.
I started drinking heavily.
I was into drugs.
I jumped into politics.
I jumped out of airplanes.
I gave up on God.
Then I started seeking God.
I stopped attending church,
I started attending church.
and I'd still not known Christ.
I still couldn't even tell you the gospel. And it's funny because I grew up born and raised in church. I was always that kid, though, that I would go to church on Sundays because I was told to, but I never wanted to be there. I would always sit in class just hoping the teacher wouldn't call on me to read, and I just couldn't wait to just get out of church. I just didn't want to be there at all. But I couldn't tell you why, Jesus died for my sins or anything like that, or even tell you who God was. All I could tell you is that I was a Christian and I believed in Jesus, and that was it. And it kind of carried on with me in my life. When I got into high school, I got into a lot of trouble. I got really into partying, failed relationship after failed relationship, really started hanging out with the wrong crowds, doing the wrong things. When I was 17, I found out I was going to be a father. That was really a tough pill for me to swallow at the time. Being forced to mature faster than my peers, let alone tell my mom that I was going to have a son, coming from a Christian family. I thought she was going to kill me. Thank God she didn't. No, but really, though, I don't want you guys to think that my mom, you were an awesome mom. Hands down, you were a great mom. I was just a hard-headed knucklehead who didn't listen to you. But no, how supportive you were for me and my son, and how unconditionally you loved us both, it didn't go unseen. I love you. But no, a lot of you might be thinking, oh, this is probably a big turning point in his life. Unfortunately, that's just not how the cookie crumbled. I still did the same old, didn't change nothing. I still partied, still did whatever I wanted. It just had to be at a different time zone. It wasn't until I was about 18 I decided, I got to support my son, so I'm gonna join the military. I decided I went into the Army for airborne infantry, and it was really tough at first, being a guy who had some really close bonds with some friends, to going to somewhere where you couldn't get close to anyone. The minute you decide, hey, I like this guy. He's constantly being put out of your life, being stationed somewhere else. So it was tough. I felt really isolated and alone for a while. I started looking for answers in all the wrong places. Started getting really into drugs and women, and it was just never satisfying enough for me. It wasn't until I was about 20, I was about a year and a half into my military career, I had to go down to a mission to Louisiana. This mission was like a simulated Vietnam War style, so I was going to be outside the entire time for a month. And I was still on drugs at the time, but I knew I couldn't take it when I went down there. And so when we jumped down into Louisiana, I ended up getting really sick right off the bat, started throwing up. I felt like I was having a fever. It was just all bad. And the thing with the military is you can't just call in sick. You can't just be like, all right, I'm done. I got to, throw in the towel for the day. No. I had to keep, pressing on, And I had to keep moving, My platoon sergeant at the time, he thought I was faking because it was right off the bat, day one. So he started calling me names, making fun of me, and I remember praying by a tree that night, and I was like, God, give me the strength, to get out of here, you know what I'm saying, or at least heal me, you know what I'm saying, so let me finish this, take this away from me, and I forgive this guy for what he's saying about me. I woke up that next morning, I was A-okay, didn't feel sick anymore at all. He woke up with poison oak over one eye and over both of his arms. I remember God spoke to Abraham in Genesis, and he said, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. He didn't talk to me for another 6 months. But no, it wasn't until about another 2 weeks of being out in the field. We were actually in a defensive fighting position. We're digging holes, to hide in the ground. And we were there for about 3 days, and I had a lot of time to think. I was just at an all-time low, just sucking, no showers, just living in your own same clothes, sweat, just hard work, getting about 4 hours of sleep a night. It was just grueling. And something hit me, and I was just like, you know what? I think I want to live my life for God. I've gone this long being sober. I just want to give everything I have to Him. And something hit me at that moment where all my thoughts and my desires, I just became like a new creation at that very moment. I remember looking to the guy to my left and was just like, hey, bro, do you know a Bible story? And of course, he was just like, what? And I looked to my right, I was like, do you know a Bible story? Just tell me something about the Bible. I just want to know who God is for the first time in my life. I want to know God. I want to love Him. I want to serve Him to everything that I am. And that was the first time I heard the story of Joseph and Samson, and it was music to my ears. And since then, I've just wanted to grow with God more and more as my days go on, and I really don't think there's anything more important in this world. So.
Well, I had obviously a different kind of life than Brandon, but I never knew who Jesus Christ was. I read the Bible when I was in the sixth grade, which sounds real good, but all I got was a book of rules out of it. I didn't know who Jesus Christ was, and so I was pretty much clueless in life from perspective of my faith. And then when I got into college, I didn't really know who God was, so I just kind of fell away. I didn't know what I was doing. So then when I was 20, I ran for student government, and I decided I wanted to have a clean-cut image for student government, so I was going to go to church just for the appearance. And the first time I went to church and bowed my head, God spoke to me for the first time in my life when I was 20 years old, and He said, "You're a fraud." He said, "I will not have you do this." He said, "You are mine, and you will serve me." And from that moment in my life, I was crushed. I was embarrassed. I couldn't tell anyone what I did for 10 years after that because I was so embarrassed. And that's why I don't tell people about it, because it's embarrassing what I was doing and what I was trying to do. And so God is a gracious God. He surrounded me with a bunch of Christians who, I joined their Bible study, and they taught me about a living relationship with Jesus Christ. Gave me a mentor in my life to disciple me for about a year. He was an awesome guy. And spent a year just teaching me who Jesus Christ was. It was an awesome time in my life. So I went from, somebody who was trying to be good to somebody who understood that Jesus Christ was my compass in life. I wasn't just trying to follow a book or rules, but I was trying to follow a living God. And so I have a real hard time admitting what a fraud I was when I went to church just for appearances that day, and I don't like to talk about it. So my kids wonder why have I never heard your testimony, Dad? Because it's not something I'm proud of. So, but the thing is, here's Brandon that wanted to be bad, and I wanted to be good, but it doesn't matter. Without Jesus Christ, both of us were going to hell. So, because I wasn't a great person, when I tried to be good, I wasn't. I fell away, and I didn't really have remorse because I didn't really know what I was doing anyway. I was clueless. So, forgot something. I wanted, I grew up. I knew I was lonely for God, but I didn't know how to find Him. And then when I found Him, I knew where I was going. So, I guess that's all I had to say. So. What's interesting is, Brandon, when you were growing up, did you hate people like me?
Yes.
Good, because I hated people like you. So I'm Randy.
And I'm Brandon.
I'm 54.
And I'm 22.
And now I see Christ in him.
And I see Christ in him.
And together,
in Christ,
we're one body.
And awesome friends.
Yeah,